Okay, we're live. Hi, my name is Annette Winberger, and this is the beginning of the Veterans Chamber of Commerce Survivor Story podcast. Our first guest today is Ryan Hunt. He is a retired Army major, and he's going to give us his survivor story. So, thank you so much, Ryan, for being here.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Annette. I do appreciate the opportunity to talk to other veterans.
Well, thank you very much for being here. Tell us a little bit about your survivor story.
Sure. Not really sure where to start. I've been told I'm a survivor, and I would say that my journey started before the Army. My father, so actually, let me even backtrack further. So I graduated from high school and I went off to college, and I was in college. And one morning, my stepmother called me, and that was not a typical thing for her to do. We were close in a sense, but for her to call me out of the blue was unusual. And what had happened, my father had fallen down and had been coughing up blood. What that ended up being um, was that he was diagnosed with in stage or terminal, I should say, liver cancer. And that right there changed my life. Uh, I had to make some decisions, and what ended up happening was that I took care of my father as as he passed away from liver cancer. After that, I joined the army, and as we know, there are many struggles and many things that you have to survive throughout your young military experience. You know, basic training and AIT, and then I got out of the army and went back to college, and 9/11 occurred. And I had a very strong calling, so I returned to the military and went on several deployments. And so I guess we have the a little bit of the survivor story with my father, and I wish we had more time to dive into that because it was definitely there's a lot more to it. I gave it a 30-second soundbite, but probably deserves a couple hours. Very very difficult actually, and it does tie into the rest. So I'm kind of going back there. It was a struggle because I had been so dependent on my father, and my father had been such a very important role model to me. And then with his loss, really my whole world was blown up all at once. And so when I did go into the military actually provided a little bit of stability for me, and it provided a new family for me for sure. So, anyways, I left the army. I left my family, so to speak, and went off to college. And 9/11 occurred. Then I joined Army ROTC, came back, and I mean, there's just so many. When people talk to me usually, and they know my whole story, that they know that my life has been full of all these different struggles and obstacles that have been placed in my way. So there's so many stories, I guess, and that's I'm trying to figure out where I go here, and kind of tell you about all my sad stuff, all my struggles. But I guess what I'll do is I'll go to even the struggle of leaving the military the first time, the transition that I made there, and that struggle. What I thought when I left the military the first time is Sergeant Hunt was that I would just automatically get out. I would get a job right away. I would be able to go to college, and things would be perfect, rainbows, unicorns. But what I found out was it was not. And people at that time were telling me, well, if you had the college degree, maybe we would be able to hire you. And so I ended up having to take a job as a night security manager for a warehouse uh, initially, and it was very hard. I at the time was dating this Canadian girl, and she had enlisted in the idea of coming with me back home to Las Vegas, and she couldn't work because she was Canadian. And so she was just kind of hanging out, enjoying herself, kind of. And I was trying to work hard to make sure that we could survive. And after about a month or two, it was becoming apparent that it was just not going to happen. I was working nonstop, and we were barely covering the expenses of our rent, and our meal plan consisted of a lot of ramen noodles, more than one meal a day, and it was rough. So I got accepted to go scholarship to go to the State University of New York at Potsdam, and that was about 3 months away. So we had a big discussion, and we decided to pack up all our stuff and go back to her hometown, which was Perth, Canada, which is in Ontario, about an hour and a half, 2 hours from Fort Drum, New York. And we loaded up the stuff. We crossed the border, and I'm surprised they let us cross, because everything, the Jeep Cherokee was full, jam packed. And we crossed the border, went back, and the first thing her parents said to me was, "There's a bike outside. Get on it. Go down this country route about 5 miles. Turn right at some farm, and ask for Bob." We'll just say, and I can't remember his name. And I worked as an illegal farmer in Canada, and I don't think I've ever shared that story with you, Annette. And I worked the entire summer, actually harvesting garlic, and it was hard because I had so much pride from joining the military, being a sergeant in the military, going off to, at that time, pre 9/11, going off to the former Yugoslavia. Uh, it, it it took a lot. It was very rough. Rough in the sense of my ego and my pride. So then I kind of, and I hope this is kind of where you wanted the interview to go, and that. So I went off to college, like I said, went off, became an Army officer, and my first deployment was definitely interesting, and it changed me forever, for sure. One thing, on 9/11, what I wanted to do was return to the Army, lead soldiers, and fight the enemy. And it was a little bit naive, even though I had been in the military, but I had not been to combat. And so at that time, my thinking was really naive, in the sense that I thought I was just a GI Joe, and going to these places and doing dangerous things would not have any impact on me. It was just all about being the soldier. And in reality, after leading combat patrols in Southwest Baghdad, I realized that I had changed quite a bit. Well, actually, I didn't realize until a lot later that I actually had PTSD. And a lot of that occurred from that first deployment, and then leading into the second deployment, where I actually lived with the Iraqi army for a year as a combat advisor. And it affected the relationships that I had. Every relationship, from my relationship with my middle brother to my former spouse. And just on a side note, my former spouse was a military veteran, and a few years ago, she ended up taking her life, committing suicide. And we had 2 children. So very tough, not only on them. Even just yesterday, my son and I were in the car having a conversation, and he had a little bit of a breakdown, and told me about something that he had been carrying very heavily. in his heart, which was that he was mad at his mom right before the incident, before she dropped him off actually at their aunt's house, and they were having a little bit of a fight, and he didn't want to hug his mom. And yesterday he brought that up, um, and that's hard for him. Hard for me. It was hard for me to hear it, and I just tried to do the best that I could. Um, so there we go. There's a little bit. I'm trying to throw out some survivor bits, and you know, so
No,
I
thank
don't
you.
know where do you want me to go. I just kind of I gave you quite a pepper of some sad things and whatnot.
Well,
But
thank you. I thank you for sharing that stuff. I can't imagine. I really can't. And I know that you are trying your best every day. And I want those that are watching and that are listening to this to know that you've been through a lot, but now you are here today, thankfully, with everything that you have gone through, all your struggles, all your challenges, and you are building businesses because you love to give back to the community. To um, you love to network. You love to be around other people. So I just want people to know that that's what you're doing now. Here, you're still here today, and you're still trying to live your life the best way that you can. So can you just give us a quick synopsis of how you're surviving now?
for sure, when I left the military the second time as an army officer, um, there was it was hard the first 6 months. I mean, I lost my identity, much as everyone who leaves the military, we lose our identity, and it was not good. And went through a divorce at the same simultaneous, so I really lost everything. And I mean, there were some bad days, and I felt I actually did feel pretty alone. But you have to overcome these things. I mean, you are a soldier out there. You were a soldier, and there are a lot of people and a lot of resources. And I always tell people there's some civilians and some people that are not 100% how to use the system, how to use the veteran affairs system. I always tell them, go. The first step is to go to va.gov, va.gov, which is the website for veteran affairs, and there is so many resources out there. You also have the American Legion, you have the VFW, you have all these different things. VFW and the American Legion is not just a bar. There's resources there that can help you, and there's resources like myself that are out there. And you just have to make a decision to to be strong and to overcome. That's me. I'm as a survivor. I've decided that I'm going to continue to push on with what I do. There's too many people out there that I know do rely on me. And even if you're sitting there, and I know this gentleman, this veteran, and I won't go tell you who his name is, but recently he lost his wife. And if you were to look at his Facebook over the last few years, they were very much in love. It was a random car accident, random. Someone um, stole a car, grand theft auto situation, and they were driving down the freeway and somehow ran into her car, caused a major accident, and she ended up dying. He has two sons, and he recently came to me and he was talking. He was having, you can tell he's having moments of weakness, and I just said, listen, brother, the most important thing right now is, is as much as I feel for him, are his two boys. Those have to be the foundation and the anchor that 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 bring him through the day. And also his significant other that unfortunately um, died in the car accident. She would want him to continue to move forward and to be strong. So that's what we got to do. We got to be strong.
You're right. And I appreciate everything that you do. I do. And this is why we want to showcase people like you, to show that you can make it through regardless of the situation. We just need to be surrounded by people like you to keep uplifting us and showing up. So I appreciate you. Thank you for being on today's Survivors podcast for the Veterans Chamber of Commerce. And we appreciate you.
Thank you. Be blessed out there.